Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and we are creating a really cool display today that I'm going to show as a display, but it could also be sent in the mail and become a greeting card. From the front, it looks like a greeting card and it says, "We love you." This is actually a display that I'm making for my dad, who's been in the hospital, but he's out now and feeling better. And I wanted to feature photos from my childhood. So each section of this display actually has photos that look like little mini dioramas. And then if you look in this middle section, I'll show you, you can see that there are some sections of this display that pop out. And if you look over here, some sections that pop in, and even fun things that dangle from some of those sections. So there's lots of fun things to do with this. What I'm going to start with is the display itself, the long piece of paper. Now you could use butcher paper, you could use mailing paper, you could use wrapping paper. If you go to the art section of the craft store, you'll also find Canson they carry the full master sheets, which is what this is. It's just not in the scrapbook section. However, if you don't have access to that and you want to use your 12 by 12 paper, you simply just need to piece it. And I'll give you the dimensions. This is 22.5 inches long and it's 6 inches wide. And once you've cut that strip, if you've got 12-inch paper, you could, section it here and just keep attaching more sections to it. Each one of these sections is 3 3/4 inches. So the first thing you'll want to do is take your scoring tool, and every 3 3/4 inches you want to score. And then you're going to go back and just accordion fold on the score lines until you have the display that's going to look like this. Now, if you'll notice, I have this one little thing sitting here. This is how we're going to create those sections that pop out or that pop in. This first one, if you start, I think the easiest way to do this is if you start with a little square piece of paper. This one is 2 inches by 2.5 inches. And by folding it in half, you can drape it over the mountain folds. And what I did was turn my paper so that I have the 3 mountain folds. If I turn the paper this way, I have 2 mountain folds. So see how there's just the 2? You want to start with the section that has 3 mountain folds, and then take the 2 by 2.5 inch paper, drape it over the mountain fold just exactly in the middle, and then take a pencil, and I'm going to just fold this to get out of the way, and I'm going to take the pencil and I'll just mark, and I'll mark it, and then I'll show you what I've done. If you look up close, you'll see that I've marked the top and the bottom. I'm not bothering to trace here. If I move this, there's no pencil line there, and that's because we're not going to cut there. We're going to cut slits, but we're going to leave this intact. That's how we're going to get that pop out or that pop up, or in some cases it's going to pop in. So now that I've marked it with my pencil, I'm going to go ahead and remove that little paper, and I'll turn this so that I can face it toward me, and I'm going to cut those 2 slits just with a pair of scissors. I'm just cutting through, as soon as I cut this, I'll turn so you can see. I've just cut through one of the accordion pleats, and now I'm going to fold it parallel with the pleat, and then when I open this back up and pop it, you can see how it creates the first of one of those pop out sections. Now I'm going to use, that's just doing one of the 3 pleats. I'm going to repeat it, and the way that I can get it lined up evenly is just to lay this back down, use this as my guide, and mark the next section. So then I'll take my scissors, do the same thing, I'll cut. Once again, I'm just cutting through one of the pleats just because I don't think with scissors I could very easily cut through. This is nice sturdy paper, and I think I can only cut through a double fold, through one fold at a time. I've done the same thing, but see, now they're going to align, and now I'll use these to line up and mark the 2 slits for the final pop out section, and I'll go ahead and I'll cut those as well. And once I've cut the 2 slits, I'll just fold it and then unfold it and pop it out and then crease. I'm just reverse folding those first sections. So you can see that's how you're going to get what I call the pop out sections. The pop in sections are done the same way, just you're going to flip the paper over. So since we worked from this side, now I'm going to flip it this way, which is why I've got this littler piece of paper. Now this time I'll turn it, I don't know if you can read because it's in pencil, but this little piece of paper is just 1¼ inches by 1½ inches. And once again, it's just in the exact middle. So at the 3-inch line is the middle section where I've placed this. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay this down with my little paper draped, and I'm going to mark the 2 places where I'm going to cut slits, and I'll pick this up and I'm going to turn this again towards me so that I can more easily get in here to cut. This process is identical. It's just that since I flip my paper over, they're going to pop in the opposite direction. So when I cut the 2 slits and fold and then open it up and pop it, what I end up with now, you can see, is you're beginning to see how I have pop outs and pop ins. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll use this as a guide once again so that I can mark where I need to place the final cuts. Here I've got the pencil lines that I will align with the one that the pop-up that I just made. And once I've cut the slits, I'm going to fold, unfold, and pop it the reverse direction. So you end up with this really cool format, and any place, I'm going to refold everything, give it all a nice good crease, and then open it up, and you can see this is how you create the format. At this point, it's just decorating. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on each section until we get to the photos, because to me that's the important part. But what I did, remember, each of these are in the exact middle. So whether you do this or you do this, it doesn't matter. It's going to be in the middle, so it's going to be sort of the same thing. I'm going to take, and I've got paper strips, and these strips, I started with a 12-inch sheet of pattern paper, and each one of these is 1¼ inches wide. So I'm going to piece it, and you can do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead, attach this as a border to the top. So I'm just going to line it up with the end and with the top, and then lay it down. And when I get to the end, all I'm going to do is take the next piece and just pick it up where I left off. And if you've noticed, because this is a dot pattern, you can overlap like this if you have an issue, but these dots, one of the reasons I pick a pattern like this is the pattern is small and tight enough that you won't really notice. You're not likely to pay much attention if there's a slight deviation in the pattern. So I'm going to just tuck this right up next to it, and your eye will just see it as a continuation. And I'll go ahead all the way to the end of the paper, and then any excess, I'll turn it over and I'll just cut off the extra. Now the other element that I used to decorate was this striped paper, and all I did was attached it and then pieced it and attached more. So if I bring my finished one in, you can see it's done the same way. I've got the dot paper on the top, and I've got the orange stripe paper right underneath, just because I like those patterns together. In order to decorate these tabs that pop out, let me show you how I did that. I started with black paper, and it was the same dimension. Remember I said that this square that I started with was 2 inches by 1½. So these little black papers are the same dimensions. And my father's nickname is Yay, and so I'm going to write his nickname multiple times just at an angle. All I'm doing really is creating a repeated pattern. And even if you don't like your handwriting, I actually did a project where I used left-handed. As long as the pattern is repetitious, it's going to look good when you have black paper and white. I'm not going to stop to do the whole thing. I've got a couple that I've already done. But here's one that's already got all of the white going all the way to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll place adhesive on the back. And then I'll just go ahead and I'll do this in this center section. Actually, that's upside down. You probably can't read it so well because it's just a repetitive pattern, but it spells out yay yay. So I'm going to, I think it might be easiest to do this while this is folded. Oh, maybe not. I'll go ahead. I'm just going to align this with the fold lines and with the top and bottom. Press it down. You would do the same thing with the other pleats. You would go ahead and add the decoration to those as well. Once it sets up, you're going to fold it so that the black paper now has the same fold in it. And I'm going to go ahead, since my yellow paper wasn't already folded, I'm going to crease on all of those places too, just so that my display has all of the folds intact. You would go ahead and do the same thing for all of the pleats, or all of these pop-up sections that pop out. And then the pop-in sections are the same thing. Once again, you cut a piece of pattern paper to match the white that we started with, and I'm going to use it to just drop into this section here. So I'll take and I'll put adhesive, let me do this so you can see, on the back. And you want nice solid adhesive, and then take and drop this in so that it lines up with the paper and the folds. And then once that adhesive is set up, you're going to go ahead and fold so that you have the decoration, the decorated sections. It really makes those pop outs and those pop ins, they really stand out. Now, in order to create the dangling elements, what I did with that, I'll bring this up and we'll just do one of them so you can see how this goes together. I took a heart punch and I'm going to start by just punching out a couple of red hearts. I've already punched a couple of pink ones. So with my punch, I'll punch a red heart and another red heart. And what I'm going to do is put adhesive on the back of one of them. And then I'll take a little piece of thread and I'm going to just put it right down the center. What I want to do basically is just sandwich a little piece of thread in between two matching punch shapes. You can do this to make die cuts if you want them to hang as well. Now this needs to sit like this, so I need to put my adhesive on this side. Actually, there's adhesive there, so I don't even need to add more adhesive, but I'm going to go ahead and place this right over the top. Now, I mentioned that I've cut out, I can trim some of this off and layer it down. I can take black and add other details. You can see how easy it is to add these other layers in order to create the decoration. At this point, then you want to just hang it. And in order to hang it, you just need some tape. So I want this to dangle inside this opening. If you look at the middle, if you look here, I'm going to dangle this by just poking the heart through, and I'm going to take a piece of tape, and as soon as I get this taped in place, I'm going to turn this over so you can see what I've done. But I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to take the heart and I'll pull this down until it's hanging right where I want it. Now when you turn this and look at this, you can see I've just taken, and I think I would probably put the tape right close to the end too. That will keep it hanging nicely. Trim off any excess. and get that nice and sturdy. And now you've got the dangling element of the card. Now we get to the photo. I think that is the most special part of all. And if you look at the table, you can see the photo that I started with. And I simply went with scissors and I cut around my sister and myself and our dog at the time, Duke, in order to get the section that I'm going to use. Now I do need to fold it in half. So I'm going to go ahead and fold in the middle. And while I've done this, I'm going to show you how to attach it. I'm going to put a really strong aggressive adhesive on the back of this, just this corner here and this corner here. Now I've used glue dots and they work great. I've also used double stick tape. So here is a little bit of double stick tape that I'm going to put on the back of this one. And I think the other piece of double stick tape, I'm going to place that in this section. So at this point, now you can do this. You're going to do this in each of the sections because I've been decorating. This needs to attach so that it covers the span in between, either this or this or this. And since this is the one that's decorated, I think I'll go ahead and attach this in the middle. I'm just going to press down on that adhesive when this is lined up with the fold line, and then do the same thing, press down on this adhesive. So that gives me this. And then when I fold it up, the only place it's going to stick is on those two ends so that when it's stretched out, it works like a diorama. The one thing I want to show you is the importance of the photo that you select. This photo works great because folding in the middle, we're not folding right through someone's face. I tried to do this one. Not such a good choice. I don't like having the fold be right through my brother's face. I also tried doing this one. Now the fold was off. However, the images of us is so tall that you'll see when I set this in here, it starts to fight with this pop-up section. So you do want to select a photo that's going to work well. And I'll bring back over the finished one so you can see that each of the photos that I picked were ones that were fairly low to the ground and where the fold in the middle was not folding right through somebody's face. The only other thing that you need to do to this display is to look at decorating the cover. Now what I did there, I started by covering the gray with white. And when I bring this over and show you, you'll see that this piece of paper is what's going to be the cover. By closing it like so, you have these notches and it doesn't look so good. If I just cut 6 by 3 3/4, my white paper is going to go right through the middle, and when you look down you're going to see white behind half of this pop-up. So what I've done is I've started with a 6-inch square and I folded it so that when it's folded at the 3 3/4 mark, it's going to attach and it's going to cover this behind this pop-out section. So I'm going to go ahead and I won't put solid adhesive, but I'll put enough so you get the idea. When this is attached here to the front and then curls around, you'll have what's going to be the front cover, and it's ready now for you to add the other decorations. The other decorations are similar to what was on the inside. I simply have more of the yellow pattern paper, I have more of the striped band, and then the element underneath it, what that is vellum stickers. So what I did was I just took a pen and I wrote "We love you" on the white, and then I just took the vellum sticker, peeled it off, and put it right over the top like you see here in order to create that finished element. You know, this display has sections that pop out and some that pop in, and it can be created with or without photos. You might want to make it both ways.